What's going on, guys? Fun with Knives back again. I'm finally going to get around to doing my ZT-0456 review. Now, I've been putting this one off for a little while because this was my first higher end production knife. In fact, this is my first zero tolerance, my first knife in CTS 204P, and my first titanium frame lock flipper. It's a lot of firsts for me, and it's kind of intimidating to do these reviews because, like I said previously, these are very hard knives to recommend because they are expensive. They are in an upper tier of knife making, and I don't want to throw out recommendations where they're not deserved. But this knife definitely deserves it. This is an awesome blade. It's a piece of art as well as a workhorse, and there's tons of to talk about here. So I'm going to try to keep this fairly short. Just know that there's a lot that goes into a knife of this caliber compared to maybe a $20 knife. So that being said, let's get into it. I'll give you guys the specs real quick. 3¼ inch blade, 4.5 inch handle, making your overall length 7¾ inches. Great EDC size. Now, Blade HQ, where I get my specs from, does not list the handle thickness or the blade stock, but I know that the ZT-0220 has a 1/2 inch thick handle and a 0.16 inch blade stock, and those look very similar to me. This handle on the 0456 might be just a hair wider. So a pretty thick, chunky knife, but definitely a capable tool. Now the weight on this thing is going to be around 6.5 ounces. I've seen it at different weights at different sites. GP Knives has it in 6.3 something ounces. I think Blade HQ has it at 6.5 something. So just know you're going to be floating around the 6.5 ounce range. I do not have a scale to measure right now. But you do get your normal ZT box. Put that off in the corner, and I just threw that patch in here for you guys, something to look at. So I do like this size of knife. ZT often makes larger knives and definitely some tactical folders, and I don't think this is that. I think this is more of a, I won't say dress knife because it's a little bit too heavy, but I think it's more of an EDC friendly size and blade shape. The blade shape here is a modified sheep's foot. Kind of got a reverse tonto thing going on here with its sharp incline, but good enough belly to it. You can do some rolling cuts, and it's not the most aesthetically pleasing in the world, I'll be honest, but it's very functional for EDC, I've found. ZT logo on the flat here. You have 0456 Sikovich designed, and of course this is USA made. It is a zero tolerance, and then CTS 204P. So lots to talk about there. I looked on Blade HQ when I first got this knife, and this was their least expensive knife in that steel, which is pretty phenomenal. That's just a testament of how great that steel is. I've heard it's similar to Bowler's M390, Crucible's 20CV, and its edge retention, guys, is just off the charts. At least to me, I'm more of a budget knife enthusiast, so I've put this knife through a whole lot of cutting, and that edge is pretty much factory. I haven't had to touch it up. I haven't even had to strop it, which I probably should have, but it doesn't even need it. The hollow grind on this blade is just done perfectly. You can see stonewash flats, stonewash spine, and then your satin finished grinds and swedge there. Cool two-tone blade to it. The grind travels a good distance, making for a good keen edge. This is not the most phenomenal slicer in the world because it still has a lot of strength in the blade. But overall, blade shape, no complaints whatsoever. Great choice. I like that they did the two-tone, just kind of an added flair. They could have easily done just one finish on this, but just a great choice for EDC. Now, one thing that I see a lot of reviewers talking about on the 0456 is the action. It's just awesome, guys. It really is. This is one of the best flippers that I've ever experienced. Now, I've messed around with a lot of knives. Now, is it the best flipper in my collection? No. The ZT-0220, I think, has it by just a hair. Now, that's personal preference. Some guys might disagree with that, but this action is phenomenal. Nothing less than flawless, really. You can see jimping here on the flipper tab just a little bit, and this is more of a push button flipper. You press down rather than back, but you can get on top of this and kind of do the light switch as well. It's riding on KVT ball bearings, Kershaw Velocity technology. Some of my favorite ball bearing action come out of that. You got ball bearings inside of races or washers instead of the loose ball bearings that you get in a lot of different methods like IKBS. So this knife is very easy to disassemble and reassemble. I've done it twice already. Very few parts in this thing. You got a backspacer, a couple of scales, your pivot, and then 2 body screws. So very easy to clean and maintenance. So flipping action, blade shape is great. Now your lockup here, titanium frame lock. A little bit of an early lockup, hitting around 40% or so, but extremely solid. Honestly, I would be surprised if there was any blade play whatsoever. But this thing feels like a little fixed blade when it's opened. Now, I know it's not. I'm not saying this is as strong as a fixed blade or anything like that. But the rigidity of the lock is just impressive. It really is. Now, you do have a steel lock bar insert here. So you'd have steel on steel contact. So no lock stick whatsoever. And the lock bar tensions is dialed in just right. It's not overly difficult to disengage that lock, but it's not too easy where you'd be worried about disengaging it while you're reusing it. The detent is perfect. You can shake this knife closed, no problem. Flip it a couple more times for you guys. I love that sound as well, that sound of that blade hitting the stop pin, that lock bar engaging. Great sound. Now, the real beauty of this knife comes in the handle. Titanium handle scales here, and then you have your blue anodized hardware. Now, it really called me to this knife other than the Sinkovich design name. Of course it was a ZT. It had great steel. Was the futuristic design. I'm a real sucker for that. I do like, Ken Onion's organic kind of flowing designs. But something about these angled, futuristic knives really call to me. And they're some of my favorite. And I think this is definitely that. I think I mentioned in my unboxing, this looks something, like Master Chief would carry. It's got that space age titanium color with these bright blue pops of color. It just looks damn cool. It really does. Now, the interesting part about the handle is that it's not flat. It's not boxy. They've almost done a domed theme to it where it's radiused, or it's rayed in these different segments that really conform to your hand, but they're just really aesthetically pleasing. You can see that each segment has some milling to it. I'll hit the light here. You can see the light go over each segment. And these vertical milling lines look really cool. They don't do anything for traction. They just look really cool. And then your middle one is just kind of left plain. Now, I believe this is a bead blast finish on the titanium. You guys will correct me if I'm wrong on that. But it looks awesome. And that it's not a cylindrical design, but you don't have a flat handle that feels boxy in the hand. So great comfort and ergonomics here. And then all of your edges are chamfered off really nicely, so no right angles or hot spots, at least for me. Now, the ergonomics are something I would encourage you guys to experience before you buy this knife, because I wear medium or large size gloves, and it fits my hand perfectly. 4.5 inches of handle, I think, is adequate for EDC. So you got a nice finger troll here, and the handle is fairly wide, so it fills my hand pretty good. But this portion here might be a hot spot for you if you have larger or smaller hands than me. I was worried that I'd get a good like a 3-finger grip here, and my pinky would be sliding off, but it doesn't. It's gripping on the widest portion, and this little peak, if you will, kind of separates those fingers and does not get in the way. Now, if you have bigger hands, your ring finger might be hitting it. If you have smaller, your pinky might be hitting it. So just something to consider before purchasing this knife. Blade centering on mine was a little bit off when I got it, and we're just talking a tiny bit. I took a T8 torque screw to that pivot and turned it just slightly, and it's been perfect ever since. Now, the pivot here got kind of a custom look to it. It's been anodized blue. It has hints of purple and orange in the inner segments. The lighting that I have does not do it justice, but this is a beautiful pivot that matches the aluminum backspacer here, floats outside of the titanium handles just a little bit, and it's got some interesting ribbing where it's grouped closer together here and gets more widespread as you go this way. Doesn't do a whole lot for traction either, but it looks cool. I don't really feel it in the hand, and I haven't as I've been using the knife. Now, the clip is something you're either gonna like it or you're gonna hate it, guys. I'll be honest. The clip itself is extremely functional. It's easy to get in and out of the pocket and has just about perfect retention. It's not too much where, it's difficult to even get out, and it's not too little where I'm worried about losing this knife. It does not deep carry, carries right about here, and I'm not too worried about that. Honestly, guys, I am proud to own this knife. So if another knife aficionado, asks, do you have that 0456 in your pocket? Of course I do. It's that bright blue clip. The clip to me, though, does not match the look of the knife. Everything on this knife is angled. It's not, rounded, and I think the clip, it just doesn't match the theme. The color does, but the shape doesn't. I wish they would have done something a little bit different, whether it was a titanium milled clip. I don't know. But this blue spring clip just doesn't do it for me. Now, the lanyard hole is a perfect size in my opinion. It's going to be smaller than something like your Manix 2 if I have it around here, where this is overly large and this is going to fit paracord pretty well. And it's smaller than some of those, or it's bigger than some of those knives that have just, an unusable lanyard hole. So overall, guys, do I like this knife? I know this video's ran a little bit long, so I'll try to wrap up here fairly quickly. Yes, I do. I think it's a phenomenal blade. It's a great thing out of ZT to see them using tons of titanium and tons of carbon fiber, moving a little bit away from strictly tactical knives to bring us works of art that are just absolutely efficient cutting tools. I have no worries, in my mind whatsoever that this knife will not be able to cut through whatever task I throw at it. It's got thick blade stock. It's got a super secure lockup, great action, good ergonomics in my opinion, great design, and a very functional blade shape. So honestly, guys, there's nothing really wrong with it. The design of the clip is kind of a personal thing. You guys might like it a lot and think it fits, just not my style. That being said, do I recommend this knife? Yes, I do. And these knives are very hard to recommend, but I'll say I recommend it with a couple of stipulations. If you guys are huge fans of ZT and you don't like the design of this knife, don't go for it. ZT's got plenty of other knives that'll fit your needs and wants. If you guys are worried about the ergonomics, I would definitely get it in hand. If you guys are worried about the weight, throw it in the pocket, in your pocket if you can, to see if it's going to be too cumbersome for you for the size. That being said, if you do like Sinkovich, if you do like zero tolerance, if you like that blade steel, blade shape, if you like titanium frame lock flippers, you can't really go wrong. This thing's priced at $240 everywhere you're going to look, and I think it's worth it. Like I said, this was the least expensive knife that Blade HQ had in CTS 204P steel. So the price point is definitely not unreasonable, but I can, I can see if you guys don't want to drop that amount of cash on a knife, I can definitely agree with that. But if you are willing to spend that much, this is a great option. And of course, it is all USA made, so you're supporting a USA company. That being said, guys, I think that's it. So thanks for tuning in. Of course, I did not mention that this is a reversible pocket clip, but you can see that tip up only. But thanks for watching, guys. I am going to be reviewing my ZT-0220 as well. I like this knife even more. Spoiler alert, right? But I will be comparing those knives as well. But sorry I've taken so much of your time. Hopefully you guys found this review interesting and informative, and maybe you guys will have a ZT-0456 of your own. Other channels that have done reviews on this knife that I would recommend, I think Birdshot 4 has done it, and I think Epic Snuggle Bunny has done it as well. Funny name, but a great knife reviewer. So thanks for watching, guys, and remember, have fun with your knives.